I'm going to start a new series. This is going to be something I want to go over because I love going over biblical prophecy. And a lot of people, at least in the modern era, seem to have kind of gotten away from how prophecy was seen and viewed in the older times in ancient Israel. Now, most people view prophecy as I used to. Prophecy is made, fulfillment. That's it. Something's predicted and it's fulfilled. The thing is that the ancient Israelites used to view prophecy in different ways. Of course, there was that way. Something is going to happen and it is fulfilled. But then there is also by predictions through pattern. Prophecy is seen through the prism of patterns. In other words, if something, Matthew speaks about, he quotes an Old Testament verse about Jesus whenever him and his family fled to Egypt and then came back out of Egypt after Herod had died and there was no more threat for the baby Jesus' life when he was young. He quotes an Old Testament passage that's really about Israel, speaking about something that's happened to Israel in the past, but he uses that to show that it's actually a pattern of foreshadowing prophecy. What happens a lot to people in the Old Testament and to Israel and to characters in the Bible, these are almost like they are real life parables of what Jesus was going to have happen or what Jesus was going to go through. And one of the things we're going to go over is the Joseph. Now Joseph, goodness gracious, when I started going over parallels between Joseph and Jesus, oh man, there's tons of them. It's uncanny how similar the Joseph story foreshadows Jesus and his life and what he goes through. It is incredible. And so we're going to look through how Joseph's life is actually a pattern prophecy of what the Messiah would go through in similar aspects. And so let's go to where Joseph's story begins in Genesis 37:3. Now Israel loved Joseph. Now Israel is Jacob. Jacob was given the name Israel by God. Okay? And that is when the name became for all of Israelites from this. So Israel, or Jacob, loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. Now let's go straight away to Matthew. Okay, we're going to Matthew 3:16. Now let's look at a parallel. And Jesus, when he was baptized, went straightway out of the water. And lo, the heavens were opened unto him, and he saw the Spirit of God descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. So, Joseph was the favored son of Israel. And likewise, Jesus is the only begotten and favored Son of God, the well-beloved Son of God. Okay? Now, we did touch on briefly the coat of many colors. This is very interesting, but we're probably not going to get to it in this video. But hopefully we will in the next video or the video after. It's probably going to take me at least 3 videos to do all this. But, so Jesus is the anointed only Son of God. Okay? Now let's continue on here. Okay? Just as Joseph is the favored son of Jacob and Israel. Now, going to verse 4 of Genesis 37. And when his brethren saw that his father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceably unto him. Okay, so because their father loves Joseph more than all the rest, they hated him. They burned with jealousy about him. Okay? So now let's go to a parallel in Jesus' story again in Matthew 27. We're going to look at the leaders of Israel and how they also had something. Let's see here. It'll be chapter 27 of Matthew, verses 17 through 18. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, Whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Jesus, which is called Christ? For he knew, this is Pilate, that for envy they had delivered him up. The Jews were envious and jealous of Jesus. Jesus was popular. The people loved Jesus. And he was beloved by the Father. And they were jealous. They wanted to be the children of God. Remember, they say, we are the children of God. We are the children of Abraham. Okay? And so, listen to this. They hand Jesus over to the Gentiles out of envy. Okay? Now, remember that. That's important. Now, what is the final straw that pushed them over the edge to send Jesus to be crucified? Just a question to think about while we're reading. Let's go back to Genesis. This is verse 5. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this is the dream I dreamed. So, Joseph is a prophet. He's able to, God gives him visions in a dream. He's able to interpret them and see the future. Jesus also is a prophet. And let's see what makes his brethren so much more jealous of Joseph. His brothers more jealous. In verse 7, For behold, we were binding sheaves in a field. This is the dream. And lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. And behold, your sheaf stood around about and made obeisance to my sheaf. Okay? And his brethren said to him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him, yet the more for his dreams and for his words. Now let's go to Mark, chapter 14. Verses 61 through 62. Now, what pushed the Jews over the edge with Jesus? What made them so angry that they finally tore their clothes to send Jesus to Pilate? Okay, verses 61 to 62. But this is Jesus before the Sanhedrin. The trial is going on here. But he held his peace, Jesus, and answered nothing. Again the high priest asked and said unto him, Art thou the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, I am. And ye shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of the power, and coming in the clouds of heaven. And then the high priest rent his clothes and said, What need we any further witnesses? Ye have heard the blasphemy. What do ye think? What think ye? And they all condemned him guilty of death. So Jesus makes a bold statement here. He's saying, I am, number one. He's putting himself on par with God. And he's saying that he will be seated at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven. That is powerful. That comes from Daniel. Let's go to Daniel 7:13 and see what this means. Okay? Daniel 7:13. And this is Daniel having a vision. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him. And there was given unto him dominion, glory, and a kingdom, that all people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that shall not be destroyed. So, when Jesus quotes this scripture, this prophetic writing from Daniel, it drives the Sanhedrin, the leaders of the Jewish people, over the edge. They can't stand it. Jesus is saying, I am going to have everlasting dominion. I am the King of Kings. You will see me riding the clouds of glory. And he said that to them. You will see me. And they can't stand that. They want to be the ones in charge. They're the chosen people. They were worried about Jesus being more popular and greater than them. Okay? And he basically comes out and tells them, you are going to be subject to me. Okay? Jesus is the judge. And so what happened? burning with envy and hatred, they turned him over to the Gentiles, to Pilate. Now remember what happened to Joseph? He told them the dreams about he would be the one that would rule over the family, and they burned with hatred. Now let's go back to Genesis again. Okay. And his brethren said, okay, this is verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him, and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to the earth, to thee, to the earth? And his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. So his father rebuked him, probably because he knew it was going to drive his brothers insane. But he still remembered. He took it to his heart. He took it to thought. Okay? Now this is interesting because this parallels a verse in Revelation. Now, the 12 stars here represent the 12 brothers. Okay? The moon and the sun represent Jacob and his mother. Now let's go to Revelation and see a parallel to Jesus here. Okay. Now this is Revelation 12, 1 and 2. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. She being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Now this is a reference to Jesus about to be birthed forth from Israel. The 12 stars represent the 12 tribes of Israel, and from the people of Israel, Jesus came into the world. But, as with Joseph, all of Israel and all the peoples of the world will have to give homage to him, for he is the king. Okay? So, just as I want to say too, remember it says in Joseph's dream that even Joseph's parents would have to give homage to him. Jesus came through the line of David and through the sons of Israel, but even the patriarchs all have to give homage to him because he is the great I am. Okay? Remember when in John when they say you're yet I think 30 or 40 years old, I can't remember what number they use, but they say, and you say you saw Abraham, he says, before Abraham was, I am. So even before all time, Jesus existed. So through the Israelites, God came into the world, but yet, even though he came as a man, he will rule over all man. He will rule over all the patriarchs. Okay? Now let's go to Matthew. Let's go to verse 10 in Genesis, and we'll wrap it up right after this. And he told it to his father and his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? We just read this. Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come bow ourselves down to thee to the earth? Now let's go to one other place to shore up what we were just talking about. Okay, this is Jesus speaking in Matthew 22, verses 41 through 45. Okay. And while the Pharisees were gathered together, Jesus asked them, saying, What think ye of the Christ? Whose son is he? They said unto him, The son of David. And he saith unto them, How then doth David in spirit call him Lord? Saying, The Lord said unto my Lord, Sit out on my right hand till I make thine enemies thy footstool. If David then call him Lord, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word. Neither durst any man from that day forth ask him any more questions. So Jesus quotes a psalm demonstrating that, yes, he is from the line of David, but he can't just be a mortal man. He can't just be a normal, everyday human like you and me. David, one of the greatest kings of Israel, calls him Lord, his Lord. How can he be his son if it's his Lord? So, as Joseph would rule and be above the brothers of Israel and his father, Jesus is the ruler and the king of all Israel and the patriarchs and every king upon this earth. He is the Lord over. Now we're going to stop there for now, but there's so much more to get into. So hopefully if y'all want to, go ahead and read some more and see some of the parallels for yourselves before I get the next video out, and start thinking about what do you think the significance is of the coat of many colors. It's very interesting. But God bless, and I'll see y'all next time.